He never chose this house. It was a gift, or a burden, from his late uncle, left to him in the will. The moment he stepped inside, the door creaked open, the sound lingering in the empty air. The place smelled of dust and old wood, as if time had settled in and refused to leave. Faded wallpaper curled at the edges, and the furniture, worn but intact, spoke of a time long past. A heavy silence filled the space, thick and unmoving. His uncle had always been a recluse, but he had never spoken much about the house. No childhood stories, no fond memories, just the occasional sigh when asked about it. The only thing his uncle had ever said before he passed was, "Don't stay too long." At the time, it felt like the ramblings of an old man. Now, standing in the dimly lit hallway, the words sat differently in his mind. The first night was uneventful, or so he thought. The house groaned in the wind, the wooden beams adjusting to the cool night air. He chalked it up to an old house settling, but sometime past midnight, a sound drifted down from the attic, a slow, rhythmic creaking. He woke up, intently listening. It wasn't the pipes, and it wasn't the wind. It was deliberate, steady, like footsteps pacing back and forth above him. He tried to shake it off, reminding himself that old houses had their quirks. But the unease gnawed at him. His uncle had spent years alone in this house. Had he heard the same sounds? Over the next few days, small things started to bother him. A door he swore he'd closed would be slightly ajar. The kitchen chair seemed to move an inch or two overnight. Lights flickered, but only in the hallway leading to the attic. And then there was the feeling, like someone was standing just behind him whenever he walked up the stairs. He tried to ignore it, but at night the creaking continued, always from the attic. He hadn't even opened the attic door yet. He didn't want to. His uncle's words came back to him. It happened on the fourth night. He stepped out of the shower, steam thick in the air. As he wiped the fog from the mirror, he caught a movement in the reflection, just behind him. A figure, barely visible through the mist. A young girl standing near the doorway. His breath caught. He spun around. Nothing. Just the empty bathroom. Heart pounding, he turned back to the mirror. The steam had almost fully cleared now, but the spot where she had been standing still had a faint outline, like the condensation had refused to settle there. He backed out of the bathroom, leaving the light on for the rest of the night. The next morning, he searched the house for anything that might explain what was happening. In the study, buried in an old desk drawer, he found a leather-bound journal, his uncle's journal. The handwriting was erratic, scrawled in places as if written in a hurry. Most of it was unreadable, but one passage stood out. She watches, always. I hear her at night. Don't stay. It's too late for me. His hands tightened around the book. His uncle had known something was wrong with this house, and yet he had left it to him. Why? That night, the creaking was louder than before. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his uncle's words replaying in his mind. Then, a new sound, a soft shuffling, like bare feet moving across the floor above him. Enough was enough. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the hallway. The air was thick, stale. The attic door loomed at the end of the corridor, slightly open. He was sure it had been shut before. The flashlight flickered. His breathing felt too loud in the silence. He reached for the attic door, hesitating for just a second before pulling it fully open. Nothing but darkness. He never made it up the attic stairs. He didn't have to, because as he turned away, ready to leave it alone, he heard it right behind him. His blood ran cold. He didn't turn around. He walked down the hallway, forcing himself not to look over his shoulder. He packed his bags that night, throwing everything into his suitcase in frantic movements. He didn't care what he left behind. He just needed to get out. As he reached the front door, his hand on the knob, a cold prickle ran down his spine, the unmistakable feeling of being watched. Instinct told him not to look, just open the door and walk away. But something made him glance, just out of the corner of his eye. She was there, standing at the top of the staircase, a girl, small and pale, dressed in something white. Her face was partially obscured by shadow, but he saw enough. The hollow eyes, the slight snicker from her lips. His breath caught in his throat. His vision tunneled. He turned back to the door, yanking it open. The hallway behind him groaned. The air pressed in, heavy, suffocating. The lights flickered, and then, inches from his ear,
"You can't leave."